The science fiction novel The War of the Worlds by H.G. Wells has been highly influential in its genre, mainly because it's the first fictional tale in which Earth is being attacked by aliens from a different planet. Besides that, it has been adapted and reinterpreted many different times in so many different media over the years, most recently in the Malaysian animated movie War of the Worlds Goliath. I got very excited about this movie when I first heard about it a few years ago. It took an awful long time before it finally came out on DVD, but a few months ago it was finally released and I bought it. And, well, what do I have to say about it? Let's have a discussion. So, let's start with the visuals here. I happen to think this is a very good looking movie, mostly because of the designs and the buildings, the landscapes. They look very retro, especially the opening credits, which is one of the coolest parts about the movie, because it's got these black and white images, almost like still images, but a little bit of animation put into them. And they have this really old school feel to it. I mean, it is a steampunk movie after all. And we have images of a young Eric Wells, the hero of the movie, with his parents, juxtaposed by the Martians preparing their invasion on Earth. And one of the most awesome things about this is they are playing a cover of Forever Autumn from Jeff Wayne's War of the Worlds musical from the 70s. And it's got some really good animation in this. Okay, it's a little flawed here and there. Like it's blending 2D animation with CGI, which sometimes it's pretty okay, and some other parts the CGI is a little bit choppy, like with Richthofen, the Red Baron's airplane, which looks incredibly choppy, but I can forgive it because it's not like it's consistently being that way through the movie. It's a little distracting, but it doesn't ruin the whole thing for me, fortunately. Also, the character designs, they are very, well, anime-ish. I mean, it's got elements of Eastern and Western animation, so the characters look a little bit like they were drawn by Bruce Timm, which is fine by me because I love Bruce Timm's work. So then there is, of course, the historical setting, in which Earth has suffered an attack from the Martians, of course. So the technological development is very different from the actual 1914. So Nikola Tesla, I mean, how can we have a steampunk tale without Nikola Tesla? He's the one who well, tinkered with the Martian technology from their battle machines and such. So they have made tripods of their own. The ones from Earth are a bit clunky. They aren't as highly advanced as the ones that the Martians have made. So they have a bit of a disadvantage. So Richthofen is one of the soldiers for Ares, the Allied Resistance Earth Squadron, which also is an anagram that makes up the word Ares. And also Teddy Roosevelt is the Secretary of War. Instead of serving a second term as President of the United States, he's, well, working with Ares here as well. And Teddy Roosevelt is so badass in this movie, like you wouldn't believe. I don't know much about his life or anything, but here he's a really cool guy. But then there are the main characters, Eric Wells, who I would say has sort of a BWC, a Bruce Wayne complex, because when he was a kid he saw his parents get incinerated by the heat ray on one of the tripods. He gets so upset that he just shakes his tiny little fist and says, "You monster!" Yeah, you sure told him. And this has also made him a bit of a control freak, I guess. I mean, he's obsessed with fighting the Martians and defeating them before they get another chance to defeat humankind, because now they have developed a resistance against the bacteria on Earth. So like any Brit, he's very uptight and he's a workaholic. And after their first fight against the Martians, he even remembers the exact amount of battle machines they have lost in the battle. That's a little scary, I have to be honest about it. It's a little interesting that they keep naming them after characters from different mythologies. Not just biblical, like Goliath, but also Norse mythology, Greek mythology, and so on. Because it's all about, you know, different cultures coming together. Like he's got a Canadian in his team, Abe. Then there's Patrick O'Brien, an Irish guy, of course. Kind of a funny person because he's, well, a bit like a bull in a china shop. He acts, you know, in a very oafish manner. He's overly flirty with the token female of the group. Like, you don't know what you're missing, Jennifer, my darling. Those accents in the movie, they are so hammy, but gosh, I love them. An interesting thing about O'Brien is that he's actually collaborating with his brother, who is in the IRA. He wants him to get some tripods so that he can attack England and become independent from them that way. Yeah, it's pretty clever to think about fighting other people when aliens are attacking. Smart guy. But he actually realizes what's more important, as in protecting all of Earth, regardless of countries and flags. And there's also this Indian person, Raja Shah. He was an Indian prince who got disowned by his family because he joined Aries. So, and he has a conversation with O'Brien about how come he helps the English when the British, when the British have been so terrible to the Indians, because he knows that what Patrick was almost doing for his brother, but he decided not to tell anybody about it, because it gave him a chance to show he knew better than that, and I thought that was pretty great. Oh, and then there's Jennifer, my darling, or Jennifer, an American, the daughter of a railroad owner, who, from the way she describes him, seems almost like a villain from a Western movie. Like, they really use a lot of zeitgeists with different nations. If there's anything to complain about with War of the Worlds Goliath, is that there's not that much character in it. I mean, there are some bits here and there which I appreciate that they have kept in, but there are also very much with the fighting, the battles, all the machines firing at one another, which is pretty cool, but still I would like to see so much more with the characters interacting with one another. And I've heard that this was supposed to be a TV series at first, and I think it would have benefited a lot from that if it had been a show where we, during the episodes, had gotten a fair share of action and character development at the same time. Who knows, maybe they could make more sequels of this movie, or an animated series. I would like to see that. Like, what would happen when Eric Wells wants to get married to Jennifer, but since he is such a British gentleman, he has to ask her father for permission, and he's being a douchebag about it. I would like to see something like that happen. A funny thing about War of the Worlds Goliath, just the title, Goliath. Eric Wells and his team are naming their own tripod Goliath. I guess it is to show that they can be big and tough as well, not just aliens from a planet named after a war god. But here's the thing, Goliath wasn't a very nice person. In the Bible, he's a bully. He's a douchebag who's stepping on the smaller guys. So, I don't know if it was intentional, but I feel like there are some subtle hints that humanity in this reality are getting a little more violent. It's a very common theme in this movie that people are fighting each other. That war is a pretty natural thing for people, and they are trying their best to unite. But I also get some Starship Troopers feel like that humanity is risking to get a little too violent, a little too eager to get into fights and killing and such. Like in this reality, the Statue of Liberty in New York has been repaired after destruction from the first attack, so she's got some metal plating on her face. The torch in her hand has been replaced by a sword. It seems like they might have gotten really vengeful, like they are planning to perhaps go out in space and wipe out all of the Martians on their home turf. And you never know what's gonna happen after that. Like, are they going even farther out into space and attack more aliens, even if they haven't really done anything? Just when the Martians are about to attack again, the events that set off the First World War are happening here as well, with Franz Ferdinand being assassinated, and because of that, all of the soldiers in Ares are being called home so they can fight each other instead of together. And there's this scene in this pub, the Green Man. Actually, it's before they find out about Franz Ferdinand, when Teddy Roosevelt is having a toast to Eric Wells. Anyway, so he's having a toast in their honor, and this German soldier who is piss drunk on beer gets up and says, "I'd rather drink piss than drink to them." So, oh my god, the performance from that character is so incredibly hammy, but it just cracks me the hell up. Like his thick accent, and that he's hammered as well. And then he starts bragging about German soldiers, like, everybody knows the German soldiers are the toughest in the world. And then he starts to taunt Teddy Roosevelt. Again, full name again, why do I keep doing that? So he says, when we are done kicking Europe's ass, we are coming for you, Teddy. So Teddy simply puts down his spear, takes off his glasses, and just punches the lights out of this guy. And this this miniature version of World War breaks out. Everybody's fighting everybody until they find out that the actual World War I has broken out, so they have to go home and fight each other from there. That's a little funny when I think about it. But Eric's Bruce Wayne complex kicks in, and he's like, "No! We're not going to fight each other, we're gonna fight the Martians!" So yeah, War of the Worlds Goliath has a few flaws here and there. It's not a perfect movie, but when it's good, it's definitely good. Like I said, it's got some great designs and animation, and little details here and there, like steam, of course, it's steampunk, so there. Very cartoonish looks on the characters, but I don't have a problem with it. I quite like it. I really hope that there will be some follow-ups, whether they are sequels or a whole TV series. When I think about it, I think I would actually prefer a TV series, because there would be a lot more character development that way. And also, how about if they kind of incorporate some elements from the other works of H.G. Wells, like The Time Machine, The Invisible Man, The Shape of Things to Come? Keep up the good work, Tripod Productions.